Good evening. It's Thursday, January 28th, 2016. I'm Kat Galliano, and welcome to the Local Live.
And I'm Rebecca Paganini. Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at what we have in store for you tonight.
First, our community responds to the alleged violation of the federally mandated Clean Water Act.
New updates on a proposed local dog law for the village of Mamaroneck.
And what's new for parking on Mamaroneck Avenue? Stay tuned.
Want to know what's been trending online this week? Keep watching for our segment In the Media.
A group of Mamaroneck High School students will be reporting from the New Hampshire primary. Stay tuned for our community segment.
And once again, the Tigers rocked our LMC-TV Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Have you or someone you know been hit with those winter blues? Stay tuned to participate in this week's live roundtable discussion.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is the Local Live.
Last November, Save the Sound, Long Island Soundkeeper Incorporated, and Atlantic Clam Farms of Connecticut filed a civil lawsuit against Westchester County and 11 local municipalities, including the village of Mamaroneck, the town of Mamaroneck, the village of Larchmont. The lawsuit was issued in response to the abundance of pollution, lack of maintenance, and overall sanitary concerns surrounding waste in local waterways, allegedly violating the Federal Clean Water Act of 1972. At the Town of Mamaroneck Municipal meeting on January 20th, the first attempt to respond to the lawsuit arose. Town Administrator Steve Altieri released the details.
As you know, the Town of Mamaroneck, along with a number of other communities, has been sued by the organization known as Save the Sound on the issue of maintenance and operation of our sanitary sewer systems. The County of Westchester has also been sued in this action. The four communities in the New Rochelle district, which includes the village of Larchmont, the town of Mamaroneck, the village of Pelham Manor, and the city of New Rochelle, combined forces to seek outside counsel to defend all of us in this action. The recommendation is that Wilson Elser Moskowitz serve in that role as defense counsel for the town as well as the other three communities. The four communities will, on the basis of population, divide the legal fees that accrue for this. And so Wilson Elser is doing some Clean Water Act litigation in Nassau County right now. So based on their experience in Clean Water Act actions and some of their other legal experience, the four communities agreed they would be well suited to represent the town. So I am requesting authorization to execute the engagement letter to retain the firm for this litigation.
The board voted unanimously for the engagement of the town of Mamaroneck, village of Larchmont, village of Pelham Manor, and the city of New Rochelle. They are to be represented by Wilson, Elser, and Moskowitz law firm. The village of Mamaroneck is not included in this joint effort from our neighboring communities. The Local Live reached out to the village attorney, Charles Goldberger. On a phone interview, he stated that his firm, McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout, is reviewing the case and that they will not be joining efforts with other communities because the village has different issues on the other communities. Roger Reynolds, the legal director of Save the Sound, told the Local Live that they are expecting to receive an answer by late May. We will be following this story very closely and keep you updated with all developments.
The Local Live previously reported on the attempt to draw up a dog breeding law in the village of Mamaroneck after an instance of alleged animal cruelty by Richard Doyle, the former owner of Best Breeds, Puppies, and Kittens. This proposed law, if enacted, will regulate pet stores to make sure that the animals in the facilities are properly cared for. Law A-2016 is available to be read by the community on the Village of Mamaroneck website on the proposed local law page. Even though the community has shown support for the law in recent public hearings, the law has yet to be passed.
I'm expressing our strong support for Local Law A, which would protect companion animals and consumers in the village of Mamaroneck.
If having bought an animal of any kind, regardless of source, if it's found after purchase to not be healthy, not be well, by a veterinarian, to have the capacity to return it for full refund.
While we do receive comments from people that are actually supporting our proposed law and our actions, that we should hesitate and wait for challenges to New York City law, Suffolk County, or Albany law.
By the end of the discussion, the board was confident in its ability to agree upon a decision by the end of the next meeting, scheduled for February 8th. And as previously discussed on the Local Live, the issue of parking on Mamaroneck Avenue is a developing one, and that discussion has spilled outside board meetings and public hearings and into letters to the editor of the Mamaroneck Review. Board of Trustee and Parking Advisory Committee member Leon Potok recently wrote to the Mamaroneck Review in an attempt to clear the air on what he perceived as a misinformed situation with parking. In his letter, Potok began by stating that while there has been talk of the board overruling a proposed pilot from the committee, no such recommendation was made, thus no overruling. To finish, he stated that the board's plan would begin as a trial run of both single-space and multi-space meters on Mamaroneck Avenue. That would be beneficial to the village by providing data such as cost, reliability, and customer feedback. The following week, the chairwoman of the Village of Mamaroneck Ad Hoc Parking Committee wrote to the Mamaroneck Review to fire back at Potok's claim, stating that there was indeed a recommendation by the committee despite his report. The recommendation was to reprogram the already purchased multi-space meters into pay-by-space meter in the parking lots off Mamaroneck Avenue. It was only at the end of the meeting that the discussion of multi-space meters having a trial run was brought up, and thought to simply be explored further in a later meeting.
Now telling us what stories are trending in the media this week, here's Rob Baez.
Last week, Winter Storm Jonas hit the East Coast at full force, blanketing the eastern part of the country with snow. Some areas got as much as 3 feet. Mamaroneck and Larchmont had approximately 20 inches of snow. Also, New York City had one of the largest snowfalls in its recorded history, with more than 2 feet of snow. Well, thank goodness that Blizzard 2016 is over. But you know what they say, there's always a silver lining. Just ask this panda at the Smithsonian National Zoo. While the DC area got hit the hardest, that did not stop this panda bear from having some fun. This one is for all the theater fans out there. Mackenzie Lesser-Roy, a 2013 Mamaroneck High School graduate, will be working with Networks Presentations LLC. She will be playing the role of Girl in the musical Once. Once is based on an Irish film of the same name, and will be performed nationwide with its last stop in Denver from May 24th to the 29th. To read more, go to thepatch.com. The Mamaroneck High School robotics team is gearing up for round 2 of the First Tech Challenge. Now there's a lot at stake in this one, as students can qualify for up to $7 million in college scholarships. So for more info, head to the Mamaroneck Daily Voice. The Westchester Jewish Council will be honoring 21 community volunteers at the 2016 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Awards on March 2nd. 2 Larchmont residents, Joan Rosen and Ed Jacobson, will be honored. Head over to thepatch.com for more information. Well, that's a wrap. I'm Robert Baez, and thank you all for tuning in.
Now it's time for our trivia question. Let's see if you can take a guess.
And don't go anywhere, because after our trivia question, our studio discussion about winter blues will begin.
Snow got you down. Even though this winter's been relatively mild, despite last weekend's huge snowstorm, it's still winter and it's cold out there. Tonight we're exploring how to deal with seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. We'll also find out whether a sun salutation can help cheer you up and get you through the winter months. As always, we want to hear from you. You can call us, email, or tweet to the information that's on your screen. We'd like to hear what you think about dealing with winter sadness, and also your ideas for how to deal with it. Joining me are Lisa Schuman, a psychotherapist with offices in Mamaroneck, New York City, and Connecticut, and Tobi Kundid is the owner of Tovami Yoga in Mamaroneck. Thank you for joining us, ladies. I'm going to start with you, Lisa.
Okay.
Is SAD, or the winter blues? Is it real?
Yeah, I think it's very real. There's been some controversy lately because there was a study that came out saying that it wasn't real. But what we know is that over 6% of Americans report that they have seasonal affective disorder every year or more. We know that more women than men have it, and that generally women and men have it later in life, not in childhood, but as they get older, they tend to have it more often.
And what does it mean to have seasonal affective disorder?
Well, usually during the winter months, people become irritable, they become sad, and we also find that they become sluggish and tend to get into bad habits like sleeping a lot and eating poorly, which of course will snowball, right? And they'll start to make them feel worse. And then they eat more carbohydrates and feel even worse. And so then that just snowballs the whole effect of it. And then they become isolated. And isolation is, very bad for depression in general. So having a group to belong to or a yoga class to go to is really nice because it's a community-based experience as well as therapeutic.
Do you think if they looked at who was just affected by winter blues as opposed to calling it a disorder, it might they might decide it affects more than just 6%?
Yes, I think they would. I think there's about an estimated 12 or more % of people who have some of those symptoms and more. And it's interesting because people tend to have that in the winter, but January and February months, when we get some of the sun back, people are still feeling it. So we don't know all of the reasons why it's caused and why people have this disorder, but people tend to experience this typically.
Well, you actually touched on a couple of the top recommendations of the Seasonal Affective Disorder Association. Their top two are that you should stay active and go outside and stay warm. And on that, I'm going to turn to you, Tobi, and ask you how yoga can help.
So as a physical practice, obviously yoga is going to add to anybody's sense of well-being, because moving your body equals a greater sense of well-being. Yoga also offers breathing techniques. A lot of times, especially during the holiday seasons and the cold months, stressful times of the year, we tend to stop breathing. We tend to tensen up. And when we get these breathing techniques, when we incorporate these breathing techniques, which you learn through yoga and through a steady practice, it increases that capacity in your lungs, it increases the oxygenation of your blood, and therefore it helps to reduce anxiety and just helps your overall vitality. And of course heat, movement equals heat. And so you don't always have to do hard work to be in yoga and to do yogic movements. There's restorative and gentle, but all of it is within movement, and it creates that heat, that warmth, those sun salutations, Surya Namaskara A, doing it in the sun, glowing through your window. I mean, it all sounds very lovely, but the image also can help to increase your mood and help you to release that tension.
Are there particular positions or poses that you recommend?
Yeah, there are so, yoga is such a breadth of many, many different poses. Some of the things that I find work very well are some of the restorative poses, like a supported balasana or supported child's pose. So you have a pillow. You can just use a pillow from home and just lay on the pillow with the knees in and just relax down. Another one, which is always good for feeling a little anxiety or feeling sleepless, if you're having a hard time going to sleep, is to sit with the legs up the wall so that the legs are coming up and the body's supported, and you can let all of that energy come back into you. And also twisted poses when we're doing rotations through the core, because it's helping to detoxify. And often during this time, as you said, we're not eating right, we're doing a lot of things that may not be in line with our best health, and so helping to detoxify the body with certain movements by doing twists and things of that nature, it will help to alleviate that stress and help to increase your happiness, basically.
One of the things in the cold, you often tense up your body. How does that affect SAD or just how you feel in general? I mean, is the tenseness in your body reflecting a tenseness in how you feel in the world, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you feel tense in your body, then of course you're going to continue to feel tense in your mind. But I think it usually goes in the reverse order. Usually people feel tense emotionally first, and they don't know that, and then they feel more tense in their body. So just taking a walk outside can be a nice, inexpensive way to deal with SAD.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of
And listen.
shivering, you know, where you
Oh,
go
when
like
you're
that and you
cold.
end up
Feeling colder.
feeling colder. Right. One of the things that people always complain about in the winter is what I always call the winter coat, and I don't mean the jackets you put on, but rather the tendency to gain weight. Can't that affect you psychologically and make you sadder?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you eat more carbohydrates, which is what people go to when they're feeling bad, then of course you're going to feel worse. And so then it snowballs. You gain weight and then you feel worse about yourself. And, you know, again, I think there are a lot of ways to combat SAD. You know, light boxes are shown to be very helpful. People are, you know.
What is a light box?
It's a way to get light into your system 15 or 20 minutes a day, and it's a technique that people use for seasonal affective disorder.
Is it a specific kind of light?
It's a specific kind of light that gives you an extra amount of light every day. There's a therapeutic center for the environmental therapeutic center is called. You can go online and find out exactly what time of day you need to turn on your light box based on your circadian rhythm. And that is supposed to really help you quite a bit. It's really the most popular way of treating SAD, but other people say if you just put on a nice warm coat and go outside, you'll have the same effect. But I think the bottom line is really to validate somebody's experience and not to diminish what they're saying. If they feel depressed, I think we need to take it seriously.
Okay. You also talked about the importance of not isolating yourself, and I think we all know that the winter can be isolating. You're snowed in your house, and what can you do, or what kinds of efforts should you make? Obviously going to a yoga class where you're in with a group of people, but sometimes even being in a class you can feel isolated.
That is very true. And one of the nice things that we try to do, I mean, at my particular studio, is we try, and I think at most, the intention is there to create a community of people that we can look to, and sometimes just being within that warm movement, breath-centered, you know, working within ourselves a little bit and spending that time to give to ourselves a little bit can also shift a sadness, and you come out feeling revived. Just even being near people. I think you don't necessarily have to have best buddies all in there, but just being near people within a like-minded facility can also help.
Right, yeah, and we do a lot of it, Reproductive Medicine Associates of Connecticut, we do a lot of groups, and people find that it's very helpful, and I've run groups my whole life. I think that people can find a group for just about anything that they want, so if you don't have people to spend time with or can't get to a yoga class, you can always find a group to go to, because I think it's natural for many people to isolate and to stay inside and to watch TV and to eat bad foods, but going outside and connecting with the world is really helpful.
Is it more of a problem for much older people?
It's actually less of a problem when you get much older.
Why is that?
I don't know, and I don't think anyone really knows, and there's so many things we don't know. I mean, we know that when we get further away from the equator, we have a harder time with SAD. And you know, people in Canada have a more difficulty than we do, and people in Britain have a worse time, and Scandinavians have about a 20% higher risk of SAD than we do. So it continues to get worse, and we don't know all the reasons for that. We just don't know. But
it sounds like
it's
lack
real.
of sunshine.
It might be. It might be. But you could say that older people could have the same experience, right? And
tend to be more shut in, particularly, you know, in a snowy, icy time.
Right, right. And why women more than men? We don't really know. But I think it's important that we validate. You know, there are lots of difficulties that people have that people don't validate. They minimize their experience and say, oh, it's not real. I think it's important to validate people's experience.
And I think one of the good things, too, about yoga, even just as a practice, is that you can do it at home, and you can do it for 5 minutes and can elevate your mood. So you don't necessarily have to get out of the house and have to go to a studio. If you can start to work on breathing techniques, and you might learn that through a studio, you might learn that from the connection from a friend or a person that does yoga, but then you can also take that into your house. There's no necessarily 75-minute practice that you have to be engaged in. You can do it in your bed. You can breathe there. You can think about just, you know, opening up your lungs and your heart and just letting things kind of take place in your own space, and then that might help you to and then get out of your house and find the sunshine.
And actually I find that for many people who get very depressed or very anxious, yoga is much more helpful than, let's say, meditation, which can be hard. People can have a very hard time meditating. When
Sitting
they're
with
anxious.
no, like trying to keep your thoughts down when you're anxious is not, it doesn't, they don't, they don't know. So but yoga is a moving meditation.
Right.
So then it's very easy to keep the movement, and you can go into the breath, and then the brain kind of follows along. And then you can skip the Shavasana, because that's where that's actually considered one of the harder poses in yoga, although everybody loves it. When you lay down at the very end of your practice. It's the corpse pose. It's the death of the practice, and then you come in and you come into the rebirth of your day, because you've done your yoga and you've come through. And but that's actually considered one of the hardest poses, because that's when we're shutting off the brain. And so
Or trying to.
Or trying to.
We're trying to move it to the side.
Right.
We're trying to move the thoughts to the side. So yeah.
We got an interesting question of, does it help to get a pet to get you through SAD? Want to tackle that?
Yeah, I think in terms of, isolation, it's nice to have that connection. If you can't get outside, to feel like you have something to love. It can be very, very therapeutic. I mean, we know that people benefit a lot from therapy dogs and therapy cats. People go into hospitals with their therapy dogs, and it really helps people quite a bit. So I think it can be helpful, sure.
And can you get your pet to do yoga?
Yeah.
Well, there's all sorts of calendars with pet yoga.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
But I do know that on even my children who don't want to get out of bed, if our cat jumps up into the bed, it's not me saying it, but he comes in and says good morning and purrs, and they wake right up.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
So I usually have him wake them up. So that's another way to it revives them, and he's an exciting element to that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, well, we actually have a caller. So caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Maura. I'm one of your local live affectionate viewers, and I can't see you right now, but I have a question. You're talking tonight about the local blues, is that right? Or winter blues?
Yes.
Well, I understand how people can sort of combat the winter blues with adding light, especially daylight, to their surroundings. I'm wondering about colors and nutrition and even sounds that could become part of a solution to the winter blues.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Ladies?
Well, from a standpoint of just from my standpoint, which is there's color, the colorology, there's the aromatherapy, which we haven't even touched on, which is also something, sunlight, obviously, but those are all things that kind of take place in that yogic kind of lifestyle, and they people as they practice, they kind of branch out. Nutrition changes when you start doing yoga. When you
Does it really?
Yeah, it does. It does.
In what way?
You tend to care about yourself a little bit more. You're going to put things into your body that are going to nourish you, because you're nourishing yourself with this practice. It's a very incredible thing, to be honest. And you'll go along, and then you might fall off, but you'll come back to it. And it just, there was a very funny line: yoga ruins your life, because everything that you do that's not so good for you, and then if you really delve into yoga, it really shifts. Changes your nutritional base, it changes your physical body, it changes your perspective, it changes the way you treat other people in all ways.
Lisa, have
That's
you heard
nice.
anything about colors affecting?
There are different sorts of techniques that could be helpful for SAD, in addition to light therapy and medication. Cognitive behavioral therapy is very helpful, and one of the techniques that we can use is using our senses to try to kind of turn the channel, to shift our thinking. And so sometimes we can use a smell that's very pleasing to us to kind of shift the thinking to something else, or some color or something visual that's really helpful to us, or even some music that we really like to get our thinking to a different place.
Okay, we also have another question, whether you recommend any nightly ritual to stop the depressing thoughts of the day.
There are a lot of, again, cognitive behavioral techniques that people can use. There's some really nice mindfulness techniques, some meditation techniques, some quiet music. People find it very helpful to write their thoughts down on paper, so they take them out of their head and put them down on paper before they go to sleep. So we use a lot of techniques to help people in a cognitive behavioral way deal with depression.
We actually have an email that I'm having trouble opening, but it's how can we help anxious children with SAD? Now, I know you said that it doesn't tend to affect people younger, but I assume that there are children who are affected by it. And is there anything different that one would do for a child than for an adult?
I would say that we modify most of these adult treatments, except for, we really don't use the light box, but most of the adult treatment in CBT for children. And there's a really great array of nice mindfulness techniques that we can use for kids. There's even a really nice app that's called the Smiling Mind, which is very popular for kids. There's some breathing techniques and nice mindfulness techniques for kids too, to help them relax before they go to sleep.
Okay, well, it seems like we are out of time, and I want to thank you both, Lisa and Toby, for joining us.
Thank you.
We also want to apologize for any trouble with the broadcast for our FiOS viewers. We're transitioning to a new system, and we're getting the kinks out. You can watch this episode again online at lmctv.org. And also stay tuned, because we'll be back with more community stories and the answer to the trivia question.
This week in sports, the Mamaroneck ice hockey team trailed Pelham by 1 goal in the second period. Will Kirk then found the puck and some daylight in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
Pelham, Beanstalk clears off the skate of DeSico, gets it to Will Kirk. Kirk gets in, scores!
Yeah, Will Kirk, with speed through the neutral zone, uses his backhand to shield the puck, uses his hip to get around that defenseman, then cuts in front and slides it between the legs of Gugliara. That's just a great play. That's a collegiate-looking finish there from Will Kirk.
Mamaroneck High School students will be taking New Hampshire by storm this February, attending the Republican primaries. Our own Rebecca Paganini spoke with the teachers that will be joining them.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Paganini and I'm here at Mamaroneck High School, where 115 of their students will get the opportunity of a lifetime this February as they travel to New Hampshire for the primaries. Let's check out this exciting political undertaking. Inspired by a friend who brought a few of his own college students to the 2004 New Hampshire primaries, MHS history teacher Joe Liberti set out to do the same 7 years later, with over 60 high school students.
Because there's really nothing like this. We're the only high school in the entire United States that participates on this level. There are definitely college groups up there with 10 or 8 or 12 students, but no one is coming into New Hampshire with 115 high school students. And so that really does put Mamaroneck into a very special position and really offers an opportunity that's absolutely unique and really just sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So of that 115, 90 of them are volunteering for a campaign of their choice. Most have broken off for either Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and then Marco Rubio.
The 4-day trip will be chronicled by the students themselves, who will be led by MHS journalism teacher Evan Madden.
So we actually rented out one of the rooms at the hotel, and it's going to become like a war room where we're going to be able to keep all of our equipment, and when it's deadline time, it's going to be nuts in there. So
where everyone goes
I had
to
all
type
the
up.
students watch Spotlight, and I said that's exactly what it's going to be. We're going to be in there for 3 hours before deadline, just hammering it out. So this is our Twitter page, and you can see the students built everything. They built the emblem, they built the site itself. Even cooler, Twitter's great, but Medium provides you the opportunity to build an online magazine. So this is our magazine, and as you can see, you have all the different students reporting. So for instance, the student just did a brand new article on Bloomberg joining the race. You see his picture, etc. A great photo of Bloomberg that he pulled, and a completely published piece.
Joining the team of young citizen journalists and campaigners will be 5 senior film students with a concentration in news. Video arts teacher Emily Dombroff will lead the broadcasters in their documentation of their experience.
This time going up there, I'm bringing a group of seniors who are in an advanced level television news class. So our angle, I think, is going to be more of them going out and sort of finding the smaller stories, maybe producing pieces and turning them around in one day. So we'll have probably 3 people shooting, or maybe teams going out with different reporters, and bringing laptops and editing the pieces at night and hopefully turning them over in one day.
And I think too often in school, and I'm guilty of this as a teacher, and that is sort of you're prepping them for adulthood when there are many opportunities to engage them in adult activities. So I think there's no reason to wait. I mean, you don't have to wait to do something politically, until you're 18 because you can vote. I mean, there are lots of things you can do right now, and this is what they're going to be doing. They'll be doing the actual work of campaign volunteers or journalism. And so I think as Evan was saying, there's really no more authentic experience than this.
Thank you so much to teachers Joe Liberti, Evan Madden, and Emily Dombrow for taking the time to talk to me, and good luck to all the students and educators who will be leaving for New Hampshire on February 6th. Teaching our youth the importance of being involved in their government is the only way to invoke change and improve. So congratulations to Mamaroneck High School for fostering an interest in their students for our country's future. We're looking forward to your updates that you'll be tweeting via the handle at Mamaroneck_NH16.
You're watching The Local Live,
the only news show on Larchmont and Mamaroneck on LMC-TV.
Our pet of the week is Perry, a handsome 1-year-old tabby male cat rescued from the street. This big lug is a gentle boy, quiet and well-mannered. He loves the company of other cats and currently resides in a wonderful foster home with other cats, dogs, and kids, so he's very comfortable with being in a busy household. For more information and to browse other adorable pets, go to www.ny-petrescue.org.
Remember, if you'd like to keep us on the air, support us by checking out our website at www.lmctv.org. We really appreciate any contribution.
We're always welcoming new interns and volunteers, so send your emails to thelocallive@lmctv.org and join us. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Local Live. I'm Kat Galliano.
And I'm Rebecca Paganini. See you next week.
Go. Slow. Whoa.
Can the local live give my pet ostrich the power of human speech?